Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Thursday, December 8th, 2022. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin with AEW Dynamite broadcast live last night on TBS from the HEB Center in Cedar Park, Texas. In the main event, FTR failed to add the AEW Tag Team title to their collection, losing to the Acclaimed when Max Caster pinned Cash Wheeler with a victory roll in 16 minutes and 46 seconds.
He rears back! Oh, man! A big Texas-sized lariat for Cash Wheeler!
3 in a row.
The power bomb! The jackknife! No! Caster rolls through! He's got the legs hooked! 2! 3!
Here are your winners and still AEW World Tag Team Champions, The Acclaimed!
My God, what a match.
FTR's AAA, IWGP, and ROH titles were not on the line. Following the match, Colton and Austin Gunn appeared backstage to issue a challenge to FTR on behalf of the Briscoe brothers for a double dog collar match on Saturday at ROH Final Battle at the College Park Center in Arlington, Texas. The match would mark the third time FTR and the Briscoes have clashed this year, following their 2 matches at previous ROH pay-per-views, Super Card of Honor in April and Death Before Dishonor in July. To open the show, Ricky Starks won the 4th annual Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal, last eliminating Ethan Page. Starks also eliminated The Butcher and Matt Hardy during the Battle Royal, which also included Jack Perry, Dustin Rhodes, Kip Sabian, Orange Cassidy, The Blade, Dalton Castle, Brian Cage, Shawn Dean, Lee Moriarty, and W. Morrissey. Starks was confronted after the match by AEW World Champion MJF, whom he is scheduled to face next week on Dynamite for both the AEW title and the ring, and the two sparred back and forth.
I'm gonna drive you to the nearest body of water, I'm gonna take you out of my pocket, Pebble, and I am going to skip your scrawny little pigeon-toed ass all the way back to Billy Corgan's NWA so you can wrestle on YouTube where you belong! Oh, you trashed the city! Oh, you trashed the people! Hey, how much more stick do you got? Because the low-hanging fruit is running dry, partner. Now, every single week you come out here, you smell like paint thinner and ass. You spray tan your eczema. If you took your shirt off, your back would look like you laid in an ant pile for 7 hours. You got some crappy shoes on. It's never ironed. The shirt is too small. The shitty scarf and the terrible ass haircut. And you think that you're better than moi? Give me a break.
MJF has been the only holder of the Dynamite Diamond Ring to date, first winning it in 2019 and retaining it in 2020 and 2021. Also on the show, Samoa Joe retained the TNT Championship with a win over Darby Allin via referee stoppage with the Coquina Clutch. After the match, Joe attacked Allin with Allin's skateboard, but Wardlow came down to the ring to make the save. The show also featured a pre-taped interview with William Regal presented as taking place before Regal was sent to the hospital by MJF, in which Regal explained his rationale for helping MJF win the world title and seemingly betraying the Blackpool Combat Club.
I realized several months ago that the 3 main members of the Blackpool Combat Club didn't need me around anymore. I'm surplus to requirements, as they say.
Okay.
But I knew they wouldn't let me go.
In other Dynamite results, Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta of the Blackpool Combat Club beat Daniel Garcia and Jake Hager of the Jericho Appreciation Society when Claudio pinned Hager. And TBS champion Jade Cargill and her 2 baddies, Layla Gray and Red Velvet, beat the team of Madison Rayne, Sky Blue, and former baddie Kira Hogan when Cargill pinned Rayne. Some news coming out of Tony Khan's media call yesterday. The president and CEO of AEW addressed a wide variety of topics, including the departure of William Regal for WWE, Ring of Honor Television, Rampage's record low rating, and the status of FTR. Khan revealed that his mother, Ann Carlson Khan, suffered 2 strokes in recent months, the first not long after All Out, and the second several weeks later. He recalled Regal contacting him to request his release from the company while he was spending time at the hospital with his family as his mother recovered.
And he said to me, honestly, and it made sense, you know, given where you're sitting right now, does it make sense to you that I would want to go back and be with my son? And at that point where I was sitting, yeah, it really did make a lot of sense to me. And frankly, the last thing I wanted to do at that moment was prevent any parent and any child, any son from being together. As I was sitting on a park bench at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, you know, while my mom was sleeping inside and recovering from a major operation.
Khan indicated that his decision to agree to Regal's premature release was contingent on Regal not being used in WWE in an on-air capacity. Khan also expressed frustration over Paul Triple H Levesque tweeting video clips of Regal from his time in NXT in the lead-up to WWE's Survivor Series premium live event.
It is written is that after this year, he would be able to go back and coach, but I believe we have it written that he would not be appearing on screen next year. I was a little surprised by the supercut of him on Triple H's Twitter, and I didn't really, given how accommodating we're being to the whole thing, I was not necessarily expecting to see that, and I didn't necessarily think it was in the spirit of how accommodating we're being about the whole thing, but whatever.
When discussing FTR, Khan addressed concerns that the tag team was not being spotlighted properly in AEW, and the reasons their creative has been seen by some as disappointing as of late.
In particular, there's been even injuries that have stopped that, and I think there was no secret. I talked at length about at the forum when CM Punk broke his foot, and it really affected months of story for FTR, and things we changed, but they weren't the same as what they were going to be, and it's hard to replace that part of it when you have a big name like that, and especially the connection that we had with CM Punk and FTR.
Khan expressed confidence that this week's episode of Dynamite and this weekend's Ring of Honor Final Battle pay-per-view would help raise FTR's profile, and when asked about the progress towards getting Ring of Honor its own TV, Khan indicated that ROH content would be featured less on AEW television after Final Battle, alluding to a possible announcement being made at the pay-per-view. Khan was questioned on Rampage's recent disappointing ratings, including last week's show, which had the smallest audience in program history. He acknowledged the problem in growing the show's audience and expressed a desire to build back the ratings using stars and ideas that have worked to draw viewers to Rampage in the past. In ratings news, NXT last Tuesday night, the go-home episode leading into this weekend's Deadline Premium Live event, drew the show's second lowest viewership on USA Network for 2022, with 534,000 viewers tuning in, according to Showbuzz Daily. The audience total was down 17.08% from last week's 644,000 viewers. The rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic was 0.13, tied for the fourth lowest of the year and translating to 170,000 viewers according to WrestleNomics. The overall viewership for the show was the lowest on the USA Network since the In Your House Go Home show on May 31st. In Canada, Post Wrestling reports that amongst English-language viewers on Rogers Sportsnet 360, NXT averaged 55,000 viewers and 28,000 in the 25 to 54-year-old demographic. Both numbers were slightly up from last week. Turning to Mexico, CMLL announced the pairings for their Torneo Gran Alternativa on Wednesday. The Gran Alternativa is a tag team tournament that pairs one veteran wrestler with a younger prospect. This year's 8-team tournament begins on Friday, December 16th, with the finals taking place on December 23rd. Both shows will take place at Arena Mexico. Teams for this year's tournament are Valiente and Valiente Jr., Blue Panther and Cachorro, Stuka Jr. and Neon, Gran Guerrero and Raider, Atlantis and Arcalis, Volador Jr. and Panterita del Ring, Titan and El Suicida, and Soberano Jr. and Halcon Siriano Jr. The tournament has been run 26 times since 1994, and winning teams have included Negro Casas and Hector Garza, Atlantis and Mystico, now known as Caristico, and last year's winners, Euphoria and El Coyote. And we'll close with these notes from All Japan Pro Wrestling. Tokyo Sports reported on Wednesday that Jake Lee would be departing the company by the end of the year. Lee, a former Triple Crown champion, turns 34 on January 19th and has been courted by New Japan Pro Wrestling. The Tokyo Sports article indicated that additional departures from All Japan may also be on the horizon. In the ring for the company, both All Japan's Real World Tag League and its Junior Battle of Glory Singles League wrapped up Wednesday at Tokyo's Kurikan Hall. In the finals of the 46th Annual Tag League, Kento Miyahara and Takuya Nomura defeated Shuji Ishikawa and Cyrus. It's Miyahara's third win in a row, as he was also victorious in 2020 and 2021, teaming with Yuma Aoyagi. And in the Junior Battle of Glory final match, Atsuki Aoyagi became the 18th winner of the tournament, defeating Dan Tamura. The first Battle of Glory was won by Chavo Guerrero in 1983, but it did not become an annual event until 2006. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.